this future where like marketers aren't creating audiences manually and sending messages to them, and instead machine learning is building propensity models and predicting who is the right audience to receive what message at what time. And for a lot of companies, some especially in enterprise and in tech, this is already a reality. Like this is in place. We chatted with Paul Wilson when he was at Salesforce. He's like, yeah, Salesforce has been doing this for like 5+ years. There's no marketer deciding a list to send an email to. Like there's a machine deciding that. But like the transformation to regulated industries, I feel like is going to be a lot slower. Trusting AI to send messages related to legal information or financial or healthcare, like you mentioned earlier, we get into a whole box of like PHI and PI, and the guardrails have to be much larger. What are your thoughts on like this aspect or this application of AI?
It's different because you can't assume because somebody in your family had cancer, you're gonna have somebody else in your family have cancer. So, like, there's no history of information you can build off of to do that. Maybe it's referrals, like maybe doctors who treat patients that are most likely, in a high concentration area where a lot of people get cancer, just keeping that relationship alive and making sure they refer their patients to that doctor. That might make sense, but you have to think about it, like, a lot of these things are based on past behaviors, right? You needed this thing in the past, or you tend to look for these things on the websites because this is your type of job. When it comes to these very unique things, like you're a person who has a banking account, like it can't there's only so much you can do because it's a forward-thinking thing. Are you buying a house? I don't know. Because you're in this age group doesn't mean that you absolutely are gonna buy that house. Like, are you buying a car? You might not be buying a car. Why should you start getting stuff about loans? Like, should you be pushing credit cards? Like, a lot of that, it doesn't make sense. So, like, I don't think it's relevant to the business, especially with the legal industry. Like, it's not we don't know what your problem's gonna be. Like, we hope that we're helping you with, acquiring capital from a venture capitalist, or we hope that we're helping you sell your company or you acquire a company. Litigation, we have no idea. We have no idea who's gonna have, a lawsuit because something happened. So, like, there's no true path for that analytics to work because there's no historical patterns to say when a company does this. Like, you guys could start building a product tomorrow, but there's no history on that you built a technology and that you need fundraising and that you're gonna evolve and need employment law. Like, that's like it's I think those things work in the history, and I think that's also where we get in trouble is that because something you did in the past doesn't mean that's what you need in the future, you know?
Yeah, I can't speak to the legal application, but I did have a stint in healthcare, and there is like, claims codes from like certain things, doctor visits. There's a lot of first party data from did you go on this page? Are you also using this other tool? Are you on this platform? What area of the world are you living in? There's certain concentrations that have more prominent health issues in one part of the state or whatever. Like there are ways, maybe not as perfect as like tech or B2B or whatever, but like I've consulted with healthcare clients that were selling pretty niche healthcare applications and products that were able to build propensity models. When a new user signs up, they have very similar demographics as all of these high quality converting users. And maybe it doesn't make sense to send like a discount offer to that new user because they have the profile of someone that's going to convert anyways, versus someone who signed up and they look a bit different and they look more similar to someone that doesn't have a high LTV. So the machine knows to like send a discount to that person. Like just kind of riffing off the top of my head of like
Yeah, I think
ideas.
it's a sensitive subject, right? Like,
Yeah.
do you want some random system to say, like, I understand you have cancer? Like, you might not even told your spouse or your children yet. Like,
Yeah.
why? It's one of those questions of like, cause you can do it, should you do it?
Mhm.
Like when Apple released an update that told me my car was in front of my house and I wasn't on the train when I should have been, I was like, I'm sorry, Apple. You don't need to know where I'm supposed to be. Just because you're tracking my
Mm.
location does not mean I actually want that. And I think the best healthcare providers and the best banks out there are respecting that trust with their customers and their prospects that they can do it, but they know that's something sensitive that people won't appreciate.
Mm.
Because we know, like, there's also stuff that's being shared with insurance, and we can't go into that topic, but, like, that's it makes it even harder to, like,
Yeah.
you want people to come and get healthy, and you want them to get the best services they can,
Mm.
and there's so many factors that will prevent them, but you don't wanna lose their trust, and when it comes to a health issue or it comes to your banking, you really don't want them sharing information that you didn't feel should be shared.
Yeah. Yeah. Feeling creeped out about it is probably the worst feeling in in that industry. It's bad enough in tech and when you do feel that like you were violated, your like digital rights are violated a little bit there.